A very good morning. Today I am here to give a lecture in English literature for the students of class 10th. The students of class 10, I feel, are the lucky ones. Lucky in the sense that at least they have their books with them. In class 9, our syllabus in English literature comprising the poetry, the short stories. In poems, we had completed 6 poems up to the poem Daffodil. Today I start with a new poem. The poem is your 7th poem in your book. I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I would like to tell you a little about this poem before we start this poetry. Well, the poem depicts the story of a free bird and a cage bird. A free bird has the liberty to do whatever it wants to. Wherever it wants to fly, wherever it wants to sit, it does it. But yet, that same bird, if it's caged, it has no option but to remain caged in the confine of that cage. Its liberty is taken away. Well, a little more about the poem. The poem depicts the story of a free bird and a cage bird. The poem begins with the free bird and how he has freedom to go wherever, whenever he wants to. He flies in the sky because there is no one to stop him. The free bird enjoys complete freedom. The cage bird has his feet tied and his wings clipped. He is prevented from flying away. Being afraid, the cage bird continues to sing of freedom. The poem contrasts the two birds. Maya very artfully tries to bring out the symbolism of being caged. The free bird interacts with nature and is happy. The bird in the cage is sad, but he sings and hopes for freedom. His heart is fearful and his language are unfulfilled, but he continues to sing. His song is heard on the far off hills. The free bird enjoys the breeze, the trees, the wind, Mother Nature, whereas the cage bird, with his wings clipped and his feet tied, continues to open his throat and sing. The cage has become the grave of the bird. He still sings for freedom. The poem describes and contrasts the living condition of the black Americans and the white Americans in the last century. That was a little brief introduction to this poetry. Now I shall read and explain stanza-wise. In all, this poem has 5 to 6 stanzas. Well, I start with the first stanza. I'll read it, then I'll explain it. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the currents end, and dips his wings in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. Here the reader is meant to compare a free bird to a free person. The poetess describes a free bird's movement in the sky. The description is made lively by using verbs like leap, floats, dips and dares. The free bird is a symbol of freedom, and these well-chosen verbs are especially meaningful because they contain joy and energy. The free bird dares to claim the sky, means he does what he wants, and this defines his freedom. He feels that the sky belongs to him. Our second stanza is, but a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped, his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. Now, in the second stanza, the scene shifts to a cage where a bird is enclosed in. Being encaged, the bird's wings are clipped and his feet are tied. Therefore, he can only stalk down his narrow cage and can see but little beyond what is visible through the bars. Therefore, the lone ability that he is left with is his use of singing. The second bird is entirely different from the first one. The contrast is striking. The first bird flies smoothly, whereas the second one's wings are clipped and is caged. Wings are clipped, feet are tied, give a picture of the lack of freedom of a bird, in contrast with the joys of a free bird. The word stalk suggests that the bird is moving in a creeping, unhappy way. The imagery created of the narrow cage also sharply contradicts the open sky that were described in the previous stanza. In our third stanza, I'll read. The cage bird sings with fearful thrill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom. The cage bird sings in a fearful tone about unknown things that exist outside of his cage. The bird's song is heard far away on the hill. He sings about his longing for freedom. The poet gives another 8 lines to the cage bird to express himself. The bird with wings clipped, movement restricted, sings because his dreams are dead and lie in a heap at his feet. The words fearful and thrill makes us realize that actually it is not a happy tune but a desperate cry for freedom. It leaves the readers empathetic for the bird trapped in the cage, unable to express the same world that the free bird has access to. What the bird sings is being heard all over, and what he talks about is desirous of his freedom. This bird is trapped and meant to be a metaphor for human oppressed in an unjust society. Maya is certainly applying this metaphor to her life and the oppression she has witnessed as an African American. In fact, the poetress voices the pain of all who suffer from slavery of one kind to another. In our fourth stanza, the poetress writes, the free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade wind soft, though the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. The free bird recalls another breeze he has experienced that has helped him to fly freely through the air. The breeze describes the light and flowing wind that he has experienced earlier and wishes to express it again. The breeze and the trade winds go past the trees. The free bird likes to take control of the sky and thinks of scenes like the fat worms waiting on the lawns for him to feed on, and the branches of the tree to sit and rest. The bird means to say that he owns the sky. The free bird is brought up later on in the poem for a second time. This instance describes what the bird is thinking about. The breeze and the fat worms in the poem represent hope and opportunity. They are metaphors for all the hopes and opportunities that the free people have that are denied to those in bondage. The ability of this bird to declare the sky as belonging to him shows confidence and self-assurance. The poetess suggests and depicts of the free bird as strong, confident and determined by stating that he names the sky his own. There is no limit on his freedom. The sky does belong to him and all birds like him. Right. In our fifth stanza, the stanza goes like, but a cage bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The fifth stanza returns to the image of the cage birds once again. These lines paint such a vivid image of dreams that cannot be fulfilled. He stands on a grave where his dreams are buried. The shadow of the bird utters a shrill, nightmarish cry, standing on his grave of dreams. The poet again reminds that the bird's wings are clipped and the feet are tied. Though he has nothing left physically, he still has his voice. Therefore he does the only thing that he could do, and that is sing from his throat as loud as possible. Well, our sixth stanza and the last stanza of the poem is, the cage bird sings with a fearful thrill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of his freedom. The last stanza is a repetition of the third stanza. This stanza is repeated because Maya wants to emphasize this part of the poem and be remembered. Even though the bird has been caged and his happiness taken away, he still has hope that one day he will be like other birds, flying in the sky, having freedom and happiness. This is the message that the poet wanted to portray, that one day everyone will have the same rights and equality. This poem, moving between images of birds both free and caged, and feelings of hope and despair, ends with one strong and powerful word, freedom. This word represents not only the cage bird aspiration, but also the aspiration of anyone held back by whatever barriers they may be burdened with. Maya emphasized this word points out the central theme that her poem is meant to represent, and that is freedom. Now basically, I would like to sum up by saying that this main theme of the poem that this poet wanted to emphasize on is about freedom. Maya Angelou was a black American. At that time, America was under slavery. Slavery that the blacks had to endure. And being oppressed, she felt it appropriate to bring out her words through this poetry. Thus, my dear students, like Maya, like the black and the white, we have other types of oppression also. Oppression like the rich oppressing the poor, the educated people oppressing the uneducated, men oppressing women in our Indian society also. So, as a whole, it's a poem we have much to learn from. Thank you.